Welcome to the Standard Deviations podcast, presented by Orion Advisor Solutions and hosted by Dr. Daniel Crosby, Orion's Chief Behavioral Officer and New York Times best-selling author. Each week, Dr. Crosby interviews a fascinating new guest on a range of compelling topics, from literature to psychology to financial wellness. To learn more about Dr. Crosby's behavioral finance work at Orion, visit www.orion.com.
Hello and welcome to the Standard Deviations podcast. I am your host, Dr. Daniel Crosby, and we're here today with the third in a four-part installment, which features chapters from my new book, The Soul of Wealth. The purpose here is to give you a little exposure to the work. It's a little unconventional. It's 50 essays all about money, mind, and meaning. And so I want to give you a little bit of exposure to the work so you can try before you buy, so to speak. Again, that book is available for pre-order. The name is The Soul of Wealth. So enjoy the episode. And if you enjoy it enough, I hope you'll support by going out and purchasing the book. So today's chapter is called Not Caring What Others Think is a Valuable Asset. Nikola Tesla was a genius who did pioneering work in the development of electric power. He held numerous patents and made significant contributions to breakthroughs in science and technology. But like many savants, the engineer also had an eccentric side, with some downright oddball compulsions that perplexed many of his peers. Among his strange habits and rituals was an obsession with pigeons. The Serbian-American would spend hours feeding and caring for injured pigeons in New York. At his lab, he left a window open to allow pigeons to fly in. And despite being a reported germaphobe, he connected with one particular white pigeon, claiming that he fell in love with her. But the peculiarities don't end there. Tesla had a strong aversion to pearls and other round objects. He refused to speak with women wearing a necklace of pearls and would leave the room at the very sight of such jewelry. Nobody really knows why he hated these gems of the sea. Third, Tesla displayed compulsive behaviors related to the number 3. He would wash his hands a trio of times and routinely walk 3 laps around a building before entering. And maybe the most extreme ritual of all was how he handled napkins. Tesla would fold 18 napkins before eating because the number 18 is, you guessed it, divisible by 3. Unusual sleep habits along with visions and hallucinations were also part of his everyday life. He claimed to only require 2 hours of sleep a night, while some of his inventions were conjured up in his vivid visions and occasional hallucinations. So deep was Tesla into his research and scientific process that he never married, fearing that it would interfere with his work, and other personal relationships usually took a backseat to his projects and inventions too. Clearly, some of these peccadillos were based on obsessive compulsion or something clinical, but others were a natural extension of a life committed to the field he loved. Despite, or perhaps because of, his eccentricities, his contributions to science and engineering were many. He was responsible for developing alternating current electrical systems, wireless communications, and other engineering marvels which continue to influence today's tech-driven world. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that you should fall in love with a pigeon or that you should fold up a bunch of napkins before you eat, but I am saying that freeing yourself from the shackles of caring what others think can be a powerful way to make better and more personal financial decisions. Tesla is wise in the sense that it is only once we break from trying to impress and conform to the wishes of others that we can truly be free, both financially and personally. Well, so let's ask the question then, just how bad is our tendency to overspend to impress others? According to a 2022 survey by LendingTree, nearly 40% of Americans splurge just to show off. The most common spending areas among people in that group were clothing, shoes, accessories, and gifts. 27% of folks busted their budgets enough to bring them into debt, while 77% of respondents expressed regret about going overboard just to impress friends, family, and those Joneses across the street. The humorist Robert Quillen quipped almost 100 years ago that we are guilty of, quote, using money you haven't earned to buy you things you don't need to impress people you don't like. The things we buy may have changed a bit in the last century, but our behavior certainly has not. And the worst part is, it doesn't even work. Picture yourself on a leisurely Sunday drive. On a warm afternoon with a gentle breeze, you arrive at a red light and up comes a fancy sports car or a restored classic. You think, wow, that's a cool car, as you gaze at its unique design and immaculate sheen, wishing you had the keys to such a beautiful machine. The light turns green and you both go on your way, but never once did you look at the driver and think, wow, what a cool person. This is the spotlight effect, a phenomenon that Morgan Housel observed when working as a valet at a high-end hotel in Los Angeles. Just as in Morgan Housel's man in the car paradox, the cognitive bias asserts that we think people are paying more attention to us than they actually are. This belief causes us to financially overindulge in the hope that others find us cool. In his book, The Psychology of Money, Morgan sums it up well. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. The spotlight effect not only leads to overspending, but social anxiety and poorer overall mental health are also common results. This bias is driven by egocentric tendencies and the anchoring effect, whereby we rely too heavily on our own perspectives and initial information. Individuals then tend to overestimate how much others notice variations in their behavior or appearance. Being aware of this bias can help us make more balanced judgments and avoid unnecessary anxiety, but like so many behavioral quirks, simply being aware of it doesn't make you immune to it. So, to recap, the urge to overspend on clothes and cars and watches is often fueled by a misguided belief that people are closely scrutinizing us. In reality, they are thinking of themselves just like you are. Meanwhile, spending to make our ego happy is an action we almost always regret. So all of this begs the question then, how can we break free of this cycle? Well, try on a few of these practical solutions and see how they work for you. First, focus on personal growth and acceptance. Needing to impress others is emblematic of a conditional sense of self. As you begin to realize that you are enough, the need to impress others begins to fall away. Second, limit exposure to social media. Social media platforms are a conformity factory, producing a culture of comparison, consumption, and leading to individual feelings of inadequacy. Reducing your time on social media can help improve your overall well-being and decrease the desire to impress based on unrealistic standards. Research by psychologist Melissa G. Hunt found that people who throttled back their social media usage to just 10 minutes per platform per day showed significant drops in depression and loneliness. Those two conditions commonly result in retail therapy and in a fruitless effort to boost social standing in our own minds. Third, experiment with creativity. While impressing others is almost necessarily an act in conformity, creativity is the opposite, the building of something new and heretofore non-existent. As you begin to create your reality instead of parroting others, your perspective begins to shift. And finally, find your community. The company you keep greatly influences your behavior, so choose friends who truly appreciate and accept you for who you are without the constant need for impressing. Jack Kerouac describes such friends as the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time, the ones that never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candles. With friends like that, you'll experience an exhilarating journey of self-discovery and fulfillment, no watch necessary. A desire to belong is, of course, among the most primal and natural human yearnings. It isn't good to be alone, but belonging to a group based on superficialities will never satisfy. By finding people with whom you connect around big ideas, creativity, and shared values, you can avoid the vapid solipsism of needing to spend to be accepted. Well, there's our third of 4 chapters, my friends. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's given you something to think about, something to apply to your life and consider this week. And again, if you appreciate this sort of content, if you want 49 more chapters just like this, I'd encourage you to head on over to Amazon and to pre-order The Soul of Wealth today. Thank you again, and have a great week.
Thanks for tuning in to Standard Deviations. If you can't wait till next week for more behavioral finance insights, visit www.orion.com. All opinions expressed by Dr. Daniel Crosby and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of or endorsement by Orion and its affiliates, subsidiaries, and employees. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for legal, tax, and investment decisions. The opinions are based upon information the participants consider reliable.